something's happening in America. And if you're a man, you can feel it in your bones. Dating doesn't feel real anymore. Relationships don't form the way they used to. Family means less. Commitment means nothing, and masculinity, it's treated like a disease. Men are drifting. Men are disconnected. Men are invisible. We live in a world where the average guy is struggling financially, emotionally, socially, and romantically, while being told that none of it is real, none of it matters, and all of it is his fault. But here's the truth. Men aren't broken. Men aren't weak. Men aren't failing. Men are reacting to a society that changed the rules of the game and forgot to tell them. Today, we're breaking down every force that reshaped modern dating and relationships. No coping, no sugarcoating, just the truth. Let's talk about the foundation of society, the economy. For generations, men were the backbone of this country. They built our roads, our bridges, our homes. They were the primary providers, supporting families. A staggering number of men can't even afford their own rent, let alone dream of buying a home. If you look at the data, you'll see that since the 1970s, real wages for many men have stagnated. They just stopped growing. Meanwhile, the cost of everything else has skyrocketed. We're talking about housing, education, healthcare, the basic pillars of a stable life. The prices have just exploded, leaving incomes far behind. This creates an impossible gap for so many to cross. Now, let's add a few more layers to this complex issue. We've seen significant shifts in the job market. Factors like mass immigration have increased competition for certain jobs. Hiring practices have also changed, sometimes prioritizing different factors over direct competence for a role. And we can't ignore the technological tsunami of AI and automation, which is rapidly transforming or eliminating many traditional trades that were once stable career paths, further shrinking the pool of available work for American labor. The college system, once seen as a gateway to success, now often feels like a debt trap. And the housing market. It often seems designed to benefit large corporations and investors, not the average family trying to get their start. When you put all these pieces together, stagnant wages, soaring costs, and intense job market pressures, you get a generation of men who feel economically sidelined. They feel like the goalposts have been moved so far that the game is unwinnable. And this has a profound psychological impact. Here's a truth that's hard to talk about for many. A man's value is still deeply connected to his ability to provide and protect. It's an age-old expectation. But how can a man fulfill that role when society seems to have taken away the very tools he needs to do so? A man who feels he can't provide often feels a deep sense of worthlessness and purposelessness. And a society where a large portion of its men feel this way faces a serious internal crisis. A society without male purpose and direction is a society that risks crumbling from within. Have you ever wondered what truly shaped the world we live in today? Many point to feminism, the civil rights movement, or even the tech revolution. But what if I told you the biggest social change of the last century was something much smaller, yet infinitely more powerful? I'm talking about the invention of hormonal birth control. Think about it. For the entirety of human history, one biological truth was undeniable. Sex could lead to reproduction. This fundamental reality shaped our societies, our relationships, and our expectations. But then, hormonal birth control arrived and severed that ancient link. For the first time ever, sex was decoupled from procreation. This seemingly simple change had massive ripple effects. Suddenly, relationships could be explored without the implicit obligation of starting a family. The biological consequences that had guided mating choices for millennia were suddenly lifted. Nature's guardrails, which had kept human strategy on a specific track, were removed. This newfound freedom fundamentally altered the dynamic between men and women, with the risk of unplanned pregnancy drastically reduced. The need for immediate, long-term commitment from a partner changed. Women could pursue education and careers with more security and choose partners based on a wider range of criteria, not just the need for a stable provider for potential offspring. The data reflects this seismic shift. As birth control became widely available, we saw marriage rates decline and the average age of first marriage rise. Birth rates in developed nations began to fall, in some cases below replacement levels. The phenomenon of single motherhood became more common, and what we now call hookup culture emerged as a mainstream social behavior. Our very ability to form and maintain long-term pair bonds seems to have been impacted. This isn't a judgment or an ideology. It's a fascinating look at evolutionary psychology crashing head-on into modern technology. Hormonal birth control didn't just prevent pregnancies. It re-engineered the core of human mating strategy, and its effects are still unfolding around us every single day. The world was permanently reshaped, and we are all living in the aftermath of this quiet revolution. What do you think? I'm talking about the legal shift that happened around the 1970s, no-fault divorce. Before this, marriage was generally seen as a lifelong commitment, a serious contract. But with no-fault divorce, it's almost become like a monthly subscription. You can cancel it at any time, for any reason, or for no reason at all. There's no requirement to prove wrongdoing, no real accountability needed. All it takes is a signature. So what happened after this became the law of the land? Well, the data shows divorce rates shot up dramatically. Statistics consistently show that women initiate the vast majority of divorces, somewhere between 70 to 80%. From a certain perspective, this transformed marriage for men. It started to look less like a partnership and more like a high-stakes legal gamble. Think about it. Why would someone want to sign a contract where the other party can just walk away? Take half of everything you've built without needing to give any real justification. It's a tough question to answer. It moves away from the idea of a balanced partnership and into something that feels very one-sided from a risk perspective. Now, let's layer on the cultural shifts that came along with this. We started hearing new narratives everywhere, or the idea that a man's value is based on what he can earn to be worthy of a woman. We heard that traditional masculinity is toxic and that fathers are somehow optional, not essential. The messaging often prioritized careers over raising children and suggested that the whole concept of a traditional family was outdated. But here's the interesting part. While all these cultural ideas were spreading, one role seemed to stick around: The expectation for the man to be the provider, that pressure didn't really go away. So, the responsibility remained, but what about the other side of the coin? The respect, the loyalty, the feeling of mutual support that should come with that responsibility. Many felt that balance was lost. The give and take that makes a partnership work seemed to disappear, leaving a lot of people feeling disconnected and questioning the very foundation of modern relationships. It's a complex topic with a lot of history behind it, and it's definitely worth thinking about how these legal and cultural changes have shaped the world we live in today. Ever wondered where modern dating started to feel so broken? A lot of it comes down to one thing: the rise of dating apps. They didn't just change how we meet people. They fundamentally altered the entire landscape. See, these apps created a massive digital marketplace, but it's a market that's far from fair. On one side, you have many women receiving what feels like an infinite amount of attention, messages, and likes. On the other, a huge number of men get almost none. This creates a really stark divide. The top few percent of men, the ones who really stand out on these platforms, get nearly all the matches. Meanwhile, the average guy can go weeks, even months, without a single one. It's a tough reality. This constant swiping has turned comparison into an endless game. Validation, something that used to be earned through genuine connection, suddenly became free and instant with every match. The algorithm itself has put a magnifying glass on our natural tendencies, turning dating into a huge spectacle. A woman can easily swipe past thousands of men in a single evening, a number she would never encounter in a lifetime of traditional dating. This naturally and unintentionally can lead to sky-high expectations. At the same time, when men are constantly facing rejection or just silence, it can really lower their sense of value. The result. We see a rise in a very specific type of culture for those at the very top, while a large majority, maybe even 80% of men, are left feeling lonely and invisible. It's a huge shift from how things used to be. Dating was once about your local community, your neighborhood, the people you actually met in your day-to-day life. You got to know someone's character over time. Now, it's like we're all competing in this massive global marketplace. And in a marketplace this big, if you're not in that top 10 or 20% that the algorithm favors, it's incredibly easy to feel like you don't even exist. This isn't about blaming anyone, but about understanding the system we're all navigating. It's a complex problem, and it's affecting all of us in ways we're still trying to figure out. What are your thoughts on this? Have you ever heard someone say that men are just walking away from their families? I want to offer a different perspective. What if the family walked away from men? Let's really break this down and look at what's happening in our society today. Fewer men are getting married. That's a fact. And even when they do, they're having fewer children. Now, think about what happens when things go wrong. In divorce proceedings, it's overwhelmingly common for men to lose custody of their children. The financial consequences can be absolutely crippling, sometimes for life. This isn't just about money. It's about a man's ability to rebuild. Beyond the legal and financial aspects, there's a deeply personal cost. Men are experiencing fewer intimate relationships and reporting higher levels of loneliness than ever before. It feels like there's this constant narrative where men are blamed for everything that goes wrong in the home. The pressure is immense. Historically, a family was a man's core purpose. It was his legacy, his identity, the thing he built and protected. It gave his life meaning beyond just his own existence. But what is it now? For many men, it feels like something they retold they don't deserve unless they achieve some impossible standard of perfection. Even worse, it's something that can be taken away in an instant. This isn't just some abstract social theory. We're seeing the real-world consequences play out right now. This is a huge reason why birth rates are collapsing in so many countries. It's why so many men are choosing not to get married. They're looking at the landscape and seeing a minefield of personal, financial, and emotional risks. When you connect all these dots, you start to see a bigger picture. The very fabric of society seems to be fraying. A civilization, at its core, cannot survive without strong, stable families. That's the bedrock. And you simply cannot have strong families without valued, respected, and strong men. We need to have an honest conversation about how to restore that balance for everyone's sake. Let's be real for a minute. You can't single-handedly fix the economy. You can't turn back the clock on decades of social change. You can't put the genie of social media back in the bottle. And you definitely can't rebuild the dating world of your grandfather's generation. It feels like you're playing a game where the rules were written by someone else and they keep changing the rulebook without telling you. It's easy to look at all of that and feel powerless, frustrated, even angry. And you have every right to feel that way. But spending your energy trying to change systems that are bigger than any one person is like trying to stop the tide with a bucket. It's exhausting, and ultimately, it gets you nowhere. So what can you do? What's the one thing you have absolute, 100% control over? It's you. While you can't rebuild the world, you can rebuild yourself. And that, my friend, is where your true power lies. This is what we, as men, must focus on right now. First, let's talk about becoming economically independent. The hard truth is, the system doesn't have your back. It doesn't care about your dreams or your struggles. Relying on it is a recipe for disappointment. So, you have to build your own system. This means creating your own sources of income, learning to invest, and building a financial fortress that can withstand any storm. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about gaining the freedom to make your own choices without being a puppet to a paycheck. Next, build your body. In a world where so many traditional markers of respect have faded, physical strength is one of the last universal languages. It's about the discipline it takes to forge a strong physique. It's about the mental toughness you develop pushing through that last rep. A strong body houses a strong mind, and that physical power translates into every other area of your life. Strength is the last form of respect that is freely given to men, and that brings us to discipline. Competence creates options. Think about it. The more skilled you are, the more valuable you are. The more valuable you are, the more options you have. A life of options is a life of freedom. Discipline is the engine that drives you from where you are to where you want to be. It's the bridge between your goals and your accomplishments. It's about doing what you need to do, even when you don't feel like doing it. That's how you build a life you're proud of, but you can't do this alone. This journey is too hard to walk by yourself. You need to build a brotherhood. I'm talking about a network of strong, ambitious, supportive men who hold you accountable and lift you up. Men who are on the same path, who understand the struggle. Men who will celebrate your wins and call you out when you're slipping. In today's world, it's easy for men to become isolated. But a man who stands alone falls alone. Find your tribe. Build that circle of trust. It will be your greatest asset. Then build your skills. Value is not something you are given, it's something you create. The world doesn't owe you anything. It doesn't owe you respect, a great job, or a great relationship. You have to earn it by becoming a man of value. Learn a high-income skill. Learn how to fix things, how to lead, how to communicate effectively, how to listen. Become so good at what you do that you become indispensable. Your skills are your currency in the modern world. The more you have, the wealthier you are in every sense of the word. And finally, and this is the most important part, build a future where you are the foundation, not a marriage, not a relationship. You. When you build your life on a foundation that is unshakably you, then everything else a relationship, a career. A family becomes an addition to your life, not the center of it. It can't be taken away, leaving you shattered. You become the source of your own stability. Look, the world may have forgotten what it means to be a man. But men are waking up. All over the globe, men are realizing that the old map is useless and it's time to draw a new one. And when men wake up, the world changes. Not because society suddenly decides to give power back, but because men decide to take it. To claim it for themselves by becoming the strongest, most competent, most disciplined versions of themselves. You are not broken, you are not alone, you are not weak. You are simply a man living in a world that no longer makes sense for the man you were born to be. So, it's time to evolve. It's time to become the man this world cannot ignore, become undeniable, become unshakable, become your rebuilt, reborn, and absolutely unstoppable. Thanks for watching.